Okay, so in the previous lecture we have seen that we are able to log into the Fortigate firewall, but then we are not able to basically access the internet from there. So in this video what we will do is we will set up this R7. So right click and start the router which is in our lab, say our ISP router. We will set this up. We will configure the port 4 on the DC1 FortiGate, and then we will set up the internet reachability via this, and then we will have a PAT configured on the ISP router, and then we will also check the testing of the reachability from FortiGate firewall to the internet through the R7, and then after that we will activate the license on the FortiGate firewall on DC1. So let's get started. I'll just go into the CLI of the R7 here. Now what we will do is, let's wait for this to boot up. Till then what we can do is we can go and configure the port 4 on this, right? So I'll say no here. Wait a second, say no, and it'll come up. Till then we'll go to the FortiGate firewall and do the port 4 IP configurations. Now here what you need to do is show system interface. If you do, it will show you the configuration of all the ports. Now on port 4 there is nothing there, right? So in order to do the edit the settings on the interface, what you need to do is you need to copy this config system interface command. Once you do that, then you can go and edit the port which you like. Edit, then say port, edit, tab, port 1 2 3, and it is 4. Done. Then I will say set type is going to be static. I think we don't need that here, and then we will do a set IP here, and the IP is basically 99.1.1.51/24. That's it, and we don't want to allow anything on here. So apart from that, if you just see this, it should be the root, and which is already the case here. If you see, port 4 is on root, so I did that just again. Now if you want to see what all options you have set, and then hit the question mark, and you will see all these options that you have under the interface configuration. Yeah, I'll just do it once more so that you will see this clearly. And set question mark, you should see all this, right? So you have VRF, you have mode, priority, allow access, we don't want to do that, all these things, right? Status, everything. So I can do a set status, and then what options I have? Up, so I just manually turning the interfaces up, and then end, and I'm outside. Now if I do the show system interface, let's say only port 4 in this case, and port 4, and I can see that it has taken the IP address like this. Now let's go on and configure the router here. So I'm here in the router, enable config T. I'll just hit the host name as ISP router and do a write here. Okay, and then I will go to the interface, which is R7 is Ethernet 0x0, and say no shut, and I will say IP address 99.1.1.1, which is what we have planned with a /24 subnet mask, and then let's say end, and again write. And if I do show IP interface brief, I will see that I have configured this one, and on each 01 it's already on DHCP, so it has taken this. Okay, so I will show you how to do that, but I think this was already there, the configuration of ETH01, so I'll show you how to do that. So let's see, right? Can I ping my outside interface of my Fortigate, which was 99.1.1.51, and it will not be successful. I'll tell you the reason, because this is a firewall and by default nothing is allowed, and we have not even set the set allow access on port 4, right? We have that on port 1, but on port 4 there is nothing there. So let's go and add that. so that you will be also able to see how to do that. So for example, I'll copy this and say edit port 4 and say set allow access. In this I'll just put ping end, and now we are back here. Now let's do the same ping here, and this time this should be successful, right? So that is how you control the to traffic or management traffic to the or any protocol on the interface, right? And now this is this traffic is to the firewall on the ports of the firewall, so you don't need any other rules apart from the allow access on the set allow access on the port itself. Okay, so that is one thing. Now on the interface that is going to the internet, what you need to do is Ethernet 0/1, I guess, yeah, 0/1. You have to say IP address DHCP like this and hit enter, and what will happen is obviously you have to do a no shut there, and what will happen is your each 01 will have an IP address from your wireless LAN segment, right? So this would be on the wireless LAN segment, same wireless LAN where your PC is connected, because we have connected this to the management cloud. Now if you see here with the do show IP interface brief, you should see the IPS 192.168.1.100, and also if you see the do show IP route, this should have a default route pointing to 1.1, as my wireless router IP address is on 1.1, and you will see that there is a static route which is pointing to 1.1, but this was received through the DHCP settings. Okay, now if I go to my PC, this is like just you want to try, so my PC would think that this external interface of the router is in my LAN. So if you see like that, and that is not working on the hand rate, right? Yeah, that started working. I was just for a second I thought like, why is this not working? So this is quite simple, right? It's basically on the management cloud, so that is why this is on the same subnet. My PC can directly talk to the router. Now router cannot ping, because then you have to disable the firewall on the PC. Make sure if you are trying that and that is not happening, don't worry. If you want to do that, you have to disable your firewall on the Windows. Now I don't want to do that. Let's move on forward. Now I have to set up a NAT policy here, so that my so if you think here, right, what is happening whenever my firewall, right, it tries to go to the internet, say 88888, what is the basically the traffic looking like, right? So there's a source, then you have the destination, right? Now what is the source when my firewall is trying to reach internet? Source is basically the external port, this one, and the IP would be what? 99.1.1.51, right? So this is the IP of the source. Now after that you will have the destination part. Destination is basically 8.8.8.8, right? So this is the IP. Now when the packet reaches to the gateway right now, R7 would say, okay, I have a packet to 8.8.8 from 99.1.1.51. Now router doesn't care about the source, it will see the destination. Do I know the destination? Okay, I know that, and it is basically on matching on the the static route, which is the default route, which says anything. If you want to send it to 192.168.1.1. Now it will again do the same thing, and it will send like that to the ISP router, which in my case is 192.168.1.1. now here what will happen? Now the router is going to send this to the default gateway. The default gateway is going to receive this packet saying, okay, now my IP is source IP is going to be this same guy, and the 99.1.1.51, and the destination is going to be 8.8.8.8, right? And it is going to throw it to the internet because it has a default route. But when the traffic is going to come back, it doesn't know, right? Does the default gateway here, this guy 192.168.1.1, my default gateway, my router of the home, does it know that I this 99 network where it is living? Because in the routing table here, it will not have any route towards the 99.1.1.0 subnet. So the problem is there. Now if we do a NAT here, what will happen is any traffic going through this source would be translated to some IP, or let's say the interface IP here, which is .100, and then any traffic that the 192.168.1.1, which is my router, wireless router, it will be received from .100, and he knows where this IP is, right? So he's going to reply back without any problem. So that is the issue there, which we need to resolve, and uh, that is only possible if we do a pat there. Now to do pat on the Cisco router, you have to configure the inside and outside interfaces. So in our case, let's go to interface Ethernet 0 by 0 and say this is IP NAT inside, right? And then we will go to the interface on the ETH like ETH01 and say IP NAT outside. So we'll have to wait because this NAT feature is getting turned on, and it will take some time. Okay, now we'll go to the interface Ethernet 0 by 1 and say IP NAT outside here, right? And then they say exit, and now we'll configure an IP access. I will say access list 10 permit permit IP permit, let's say what permit, just say the IP, which is 99.1.1.1.0, and we should have the wildcard mask. There's a 0000255. That is it. So we need to have an access list which is 10. Now we have the inside, we have the outside, we have the access list. Now let's configure the NAT. Let's say IP NAT source is going to be inside. Source is basically going to be the list is 99, which is, sorry, the list access is number is 10, list is 10, and then you are going to basically NAT it to the interface, and which is going to be our what, Ethernet 0 bar 1, and let's say this is like overload. So IP NAT source source is going to be list this and this. So let's see this is working or not, and how to configure, how to basically check this is you exit and say show IP NAT translations, like that. So you will have the translations here. Now before doing the translations, you need to send the ping, right? So if I do a ping and say 8.8.8.8, which is basically going to pass through, because it is going to send it from the outside interface. Now we will have to say like source or source interface. Source is going to be the IP source address. So I will say, let's say this is my internal address like this, and let's see if this is getting translated or not. I'm going to wait for this. If not, then we will have to change something on the NAT, and that means the NAT is not working fine. If I say show IP NAT translations and I don't see any translations, that means the NAT is wrong. Show run let's say section NAT. I see IP NAT source, so I'll say config T and I'll say no to this whole command, right? And let's have this again, IP NAT and then hit this IP NAT inside and say source list. I think that is what I was missing, the inside command, a keyword, right? Interface Ethernet 0 by 1 and then say overload. Okay, so this seems to be perfect. Sorry, end and right. And then if I do the same ping now from this to this, this is working perfectly fine. Now if I do the translation command here, you can see the translation is is happening, right? Now from the Fortinet, if I do a ping to the 8.8.8.8, will that work? That is the question, right? So if I go to Fortinet and admin add 123 is my password and do an execute ping to say 192.168.1.1, now this is going to go through the management. Now if I do a execute ping to say 99.1.1.1, which is my uh, basically the router, and then if I do the same thing here, say 8.8.8.8, and this is not successful. Now the reason behind this is only and only that my Fortigate firewall has no default route, right? So in order to get the default route, you will say get router static. If it is there, no static, say 1, nothing is there, right? So let's configure this and say configure configure, or you can say config router, then say static, enter, and say edit 1, edit, and then this is like sequence number, say 1, and this is a new entry, right? So I will say set destination, sorry, destination set. What options we have? We have gateway, distance, wait, priority, black hole, dynamic gateway, destination address. Okay, so you just need to specify the gateway, which is going to be in our case 99.1.1.1, right? And hit enter, and that's it, end. Now if you do the same, get router static 1, or just say static, I don't see the command here, and did it take it config router static, and say set gateway, or you can say edit 1 first, edit, let's say 2, set gateway 99.1.1.1, end. We can also see this by show full configuration, and let's say router static. So it is not basically taken by this, so I again say config router static, say edit, say 1, okay, and I'll set the status to enable, and set destination, we have the dest, so this is going to be 0.0.0/0, say set gateway 99.1.1.1, and then we have we can have a comment, let's say set comment, and I will say default route through R7, something like this, right? And then hit next. Then this is having some issue, right? Node check object fail for device, attribute device must be added. So let's say set device configure. Now you want to see this that how many commands were taken, so we have to do this one, and none has been taken. So again we have to go and do the same thing here with this thing, and say edit 1, there will be now new entry that will be created, set device, and say port 4, basically the external port from where we want the traffic to go, right? And say set status, this is what we were missing, right? Enable, and set dst 0.0.0/0, and say set gateway 99.1.1.1, sorry, .1.1.1. So there has been a little bit changes from the 7.0 to 7.2 obviously on the CLI. Now let's say set comment. This is like static default through R7. Say next now, and say destination is, which means all IP address, okay, and say IP end. Now if I do the same command here to show, and I will see, yeah, so we will have these settings now configured. Now if I do execute uh, ping to 8.8.8.8, this should work fine now. The second thing that I need is the DNS. So we can do config DNS config system, I think system DNS, yeah, and then you say set primary 8.8.8.8, set secondary 4.2.2.2. Now once you do this, then you will say execute ping again, but this time it would be not an IP address but a URL, and you will see that the IP address is being translated or not. Yeah, so this is also successful. So now our firewall is basically able to reach the internet. Now if I go okay, now I can go and basically activate the eval license. So that would be all for this lecture. I will see you in the next lecture where we will basically activate the eval license.